are dead after two helicopters collided midair over Rio de Janeiro. Fire officials say the crash happened right before 9 local time. The impact sent debris into buildings nearby, and one of the helicopters crashed into an electric car, sparking a large fire. Now, no one on the helicopter survived. Among the passengers was American singer Oliver Tree. Tree performed at Lollapalooza twice, and his debut record, Ugly is Beautiful, was certified gold. He was 32 years old. The cause of the crash is under investigation.
Oliver Tree had built an entire career around surprises, absurd humor, and making audiences question what was real. But this time, something felt different, very different. Could the unthinkable actually be true? And if it was, what exactly had happened? Questions spread faster than answers. How could someone so energetic, so unpredictable, suddenly be gone? Why was he in Brazil? What had happened during those final hours? And why were so many details still unclear? For fans who had followed him for years, the news felt impossible. Because Oliver Tree was never supposed to fit into any category. He wasn't simply a singer. He wasn't just a comedian. He wasn't only a social media personality. He had become something much stranger. Something impossible to define. But who was the man behind the bowl haircut and oversized glasses? Who was Oliver Tree before the world knew his name? And could the answer to that question explain why millions felt such a deep connection to someone who always seemed larger than life? To understand the mystery surrounding his final days, we first have to go back. Back before the fame, back before the costumes, back before the internet phenomenon, back to California, back to where everything began, because long before the strange videos, long before millions of followers, there was simply a boy with dreams. A boy who had no idea his life would eventually captivate the entire world. And perhaps, no one could have predicted how unusual that journey would become. Long before the name Oliver Tree became recognized across the globe, there was Oliver Tree Nickel. He was born in Santa Cruz, California, a place famous for its beaches, artistic culture, and unconventional spirit. Growing up there would have a profound influence on the young musician. But even as a child, Oliver didn't seem interested in following ordinary paths. Friends and classmates remembered someone who was creative, someone curious, someone willing to experiment, someone who preferred originality over fitting in. But was that unusual personality something he developed over time, or had it always been part of who he was? Music entered his life at a young age, and once it did, there was no turning back. While many children were still discovering hobbies, Oliver was already developing an obsession with sound and creativity. But success wouldn't arrive overnight. In fact, years would pass before the world discovered him. And during those years, he experimented with countless styles, different sounds, different ideas, different artistic identities. Was he searching for something, or was he slowly building the character that would one day make him famous? No one knew. Perhaps not even Oliver himself. Because behind every eccentric artist, there is usually a story that few people ever see, and Oliver's story was just beginning. As he grew older, Oliver became increasingly dedicated to music, but there was one problem: the music industry isn't kind to dreamers. Thousands of talented artists compete for attention, most disappear, many give up, only a handful survive. Would Oliver become one of them, or would his dreams remain exactly that, dreams? Instead of following trends, he chose something riskier. He embraced originality, and originality often comes with rejection. So, years passed, styles changed, and projects evolved. Failures, well, they became lessons. And, little by little, the young artist began developing something truly unique. But, maybe his greatest strength wasn't his voice, or his production, or even his creativity. Maybe, just maybe, it was something else entirely. His willingness to be different. His willingness to appear, well, ridiculous, and his willingness to laugh at himself, because in a world full of people trying to fit in, Oliver Tree seemed absolutely determined to stand out, even if it meant confusing everyone. And, eventually, the world began paying attention. But honestly, no one realized just how strange things were about to become. Then came the look, the bowl haircut, the colorful jackets, the oversized glasses, the scooter. Everything about Oliver Tree seemed bizarre. But was it all an act, or was this simply an extension of his personality? Fans debated endlessly. Some believed the character was satire, others thought it represented something deeper, and perhaps the truth existed somewhere in between, because Oliver understood something many artists never do. Attention is valuable. But keeping attention? That's an entirely different challenge. His music videos became impossible to ignore, his interviews became unpredictable, his humor confused audiences, and somehow, that confusion became part of his appeal. People couldn't stop watching, couldn't stop sharing, couldn't stop asking questions. Who was the real Oliver Tree? Was the public seeing a performance, or were they seeing the real person hidden behind exaggeration? Even years later, fans continued asking that question, and maybe that mystery itself became one of the reasons his popularity exploded, because human beings are naturally curious, and Oliver Tree gave people endless reasons to remain curious. But fame comes with a price, and the bigger he became, the stranger the journey would become. At first, few people expected Oliver Tree to become a global phenomenon. His style was unconventional, his humor was strange, his appearance broke every rule. Yet somehow, it worked. Song after song reached new audiences, videos gathered millions of views, clips spread across social media, and suddenly, the artist many people once dismissed had become impossible to ignore. But success brought new questions. How much of his public image was carefully designed? How much was spontaneous? How much was genuine? And how much remained hidden? Interviews often raised more questions than they answered. Fans analyzed every joke, every statement, every appearance, but perhaps that uncertainty was intentional, because mystery creates fascination, and fascination creates legends. By now, Oliver Tree wasn't simply making music, he was creating an experience, an unpredictable world, a place where nothing was entirely serious, and where audiences never knew what would happen next. But beneath the jokes, beneath the costumes, beneath the absurdity, there was still a real person. A person whose life story was far more complicated than many people realized. And as the years passed, that story would take unexpected turns. Turns that nobody could have predicted. Including Oliver himself. Because sometimes, the strangest chapters of a person's life are the ones nobody sees coming, and in the years ahead, questions surrounding Oliver Tree would only grow. But perhaps the biggest questions of all would emerge near the end. As 2026 unfolded, few people imagined that tragedy was approaching. Fans continued enjoying the music, interviews, videos, appearances. Everything appeared normal, at least from the outside. But life often changes without warning, and history has repeatedly shown that ordinary moments sometimes come before extraordinary events. Then suddenly, news began emerging, reports spread rapidly, questions followed immediately. What exactly had happened? How had it happened? Why had it happened? And why did the news feel so impossible to believe? Many fans initially refused to accept it. After all, Oliver Tree had spent years surprising audiences. Could this somehow be another misunderstanding? Another joke? Another unexpected twist? Unfortunately, reality can sometimes be more shocking than fiction. As information slowly emerged, millions around the world struggled to process what they were hearing. How could someone so energetic, so creative, so unpredictable, disappear so suddenly? And perhaps the most painful question of all remained unanswered. Why? Long after headlines fade, legacies remain, and perhaps that is where the true story of Oliver Tree begins, not with tragedy, not with unanswered questions, not with rumors, but with the impact he left behind. Millions of fans, countless songs, memorable videos, and a style unlike anyone else. Love him or hate him, nobody could deny one thing. Oliver Tree was unforgettable. He challenged conventions, ignored expectations, and built a career by refusing to become ordinary. Perhaps that is why so many people connected with him. Because in a world filled with imitation, he embraced individuality, and maybe that was his greatest message: to create, to experiment, to laugh, to take risks, and above all, to be unapologetically different. Years from now, new listeners may discover his music, new generations may discover the strange videos, the humor, the creativity, and the mystery that always surrounded him. And perhaps they will ask the same question millions have already asked. Who was Oliver Tree? Was he a musician, a comedian, a performer, a genius, or something impossible to define? Maybe the answer lies somewhere between all of those things. Because some artists leave behind more than songs, they leave behind questions. And sometimes, questions are what keep memories alive. The story may have ended, but the fascination never truly disappears. And perhaps, that was exactly how Oliver Tree would have wanted it. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.